So, no launch, no bet. If a successful landing is anything that does not cause an explosion, right? Oh, if it falls, yeah. But it explodes if it falls. But like if it lands was like crooked and they don't count it as a success, just as long as it doesn't explode, right? Like you mean if it lands and they go, that wasn't a success, but it's still usable? That's success. Lands with no explosion. No, I'm not going land perfectly. Like if it lands and doesn't explode, that's success. Because, yeah, if it lands and if it explodes, then, I mean, come on, any little thing makes that thing blow up. I think I earned that. What are the chances No, I just want to be clear. Because, like, if it lands and just sort of, like, sits there, but it's, like, 10 feet off, like, that's still successful. It landed. Land with no explosion. Got a deal. Hey, welcome to the Closing Beat, everybody. How are we doing today? Do you like this coffee cup? If you like this coffee cup, it keeps your coffee about 1% warmer than every other coffee cup out there. And there's no other coffee cup that's orange on the inside and is black on the outside with our logo on it. Soon to be available. We realize that we have an overabundance of coffee cups, and we're going to sell our coffee cups. We just got our boxes today. We had like 100 or something coffee cups left over. They're sitting around here, getting tired of them sitting around. So pretty soon, if you want to buy a coffee cup, it'll help us, buy better lights and cameras and maybe a better looking guy to do the show. We'll see what happens. Hey, welcome to the Closing Beat. How are we doing today? Oh boy, yeah, stock market. Yeah, that's what we do here. That's what we're going to talk about. Unfortunately, yesterday was the hint. We talked about this yesterday that you really didn't want to see it just kind of float around there, do nothing. You wanted to see the stock market continue that momentum from Monday. It didn't do it, right? We started reversing course here today. We're going to talk about that throughout the day, through the class here, and then I'll take your questions if you have any for me. And of course, I'll be happy to try to answer the questions if I can. And so let's get started here. On the right-hand side of your screen, you can actually see how the stock market performed today. Horrible day for the Nasdaq, right? Horrible day. By the way, happy birthday to Charles Ponzi. Did you know that? It's Charles Ponzi's birthday today. Do you know? Ponzi scheme guy. Nailed it. Yeah. If it weren't for him, I don't know, old Bernie Madoff would have been smart enough to figure out how to do what he did. So, do we celebrate that birthday? I don't think we celebrate that. A little off topic here today. So yeah, just really a tough day for the stock market. I think there was a lot to learn from it. Remember yesterday I was saying, you want to see, it's that type of day where you go, I need more information, right? I need to know what's going on. I think today taught us a lot. So we're going to dive into that here today. Let's get started. So first off, you have the private payrolls, which ADP puts out. Huge miss. It missed by like half the numbers. It was supposed to be somewhere between, like around 200,000, came in around 117, 115,000. Not good. So that wasn't a good start off for the day there. Futures for the morning had already given up all their gains. We were up a little bit last night. They'd already started giving up pretty much all their gains, and that number came out, and that solidified it for the day there. And you could just feel the weakness as we were talking about yesterday. Let's get started with the Nasdaq if you want here. So gave up all of its year-to-date gains. It was up over 2%. Yesterday for the year. Now it's down about 1% on the year. So we're hovering around the flat line. That's the moral of the story on the Nasdaq. It's not bad news. It's not a catastrophe. It's just that it can't get anything going so far this year. And hopefully, for those of you that are looking for a pullback, hopefully this is the start. We can get a little something good going here on the Nasdaq. It's down about 1%. Now, you had a double whammy in the Nasdaq here today. You had your big super-duper cap tech stocks. They were weak on the day. You also had your virus stocks, right? The PayPals, the DocuSigns, the Zooms, things like that. Charts coming up. No charts. PayPal, did I type it right? There we go. Partially delayed, maybe having some kind of an issue there, so I'll restart it. But it sucked for the Nasdaq because you had that double whammy. Normally, what we've been seeing is your big cap tech stocks, they'll help when the sort of virus stocks start to suffer a little bit. Today you had both of them, and that's unfortunate. When you have both of them selling off, that's enough of the weight of the Nasdaq to really pull it down and unfortunately see what you saw today. So not a good start there for that one. I'll go back over here to the charts. DocuSign pulling back to the 200-day moving average. PayPal, how do you like that? I did that while I was talking. PayPal down 5% on the day. Zoom, that was another one. That was one of the bigger losers, down about 8% overall. Then the big names, right? Your Netflix. Just can't get anything going there. Netflix down 5%, Apple down 2.5%, seems to be giving up that support area, unwilling to move on. And Google, there we go. Google pulling back there just a little bit as well. So not good for the Nasdaq. We go over to the Dow. It was actually the only index that was positive on the day today, but then gave it up right there at the end of the day. It's up about 3% year to date. And Boeing and the financials were the moral of the story today. Boeing up 2.5%. Getting a little bit of momentum there for Boeing. And then financials, which was one of the leading sectors today, great for the most part of the day. It gave it back a little bit towards the end of the day. It's your big financials. Goldman Sachs, American Express finished the best, and JP Morgan up about 2% as well. If you go over to the S&P 500, still up 2-ish% on the year, but flirting with breaking the 50-day moving average. This is the second time this year that it has tried to do that. Again, it's going to be the big caps, the big super duper guys, big cap, mega cap stocks. Microsoft, right, down 3% on the day. Tesla also down on the day. By the way, that launch, which we've been placing our office bets on the launch of Starship 9 or 10. If it'll be successful or not, right? That's coming up here at 5:30, so we'll be sure to get out of your way there. But Tesla pulling back just a little bit, and these were all the biggest drags on the day. Even Amazon, which has finally moved, it's really just messing with you, right? Tried to move out of the range to the upside, gave it all up, moving down out of the range to that downside there, just getting weaker and weaker, testing the 3,000 number there. If we go over to the individual sectors here today, it's not looking great, I'll be honest with you there. Energy and financials were your leaders. Other than that, everything else was pretty much weak on the day. For energy today, what it was crude oil inventories came out. Huge drop in inventories, largely due to that storm out in Texas, which, well, that was the reason. Also, you have OPEC Plus meeting later this week, I think, and they're looking to increase production by 1.5 million barrels. That's the assumption there anyways. So because of those two things, you had the price of oil. Strong move in oil here today, and the energy stocks performed really well there. Also, you may remember that we talked about, I'll go over here, we talked about the XLE and how it had had a really strong move over the last 2 months there, and we showed this on Monday how it's due for a pullback. So this extension here today, notice how it already started getting some selling. Everybody knows that this is too far, too fast. We saw it the other day with that pullback. We saw again, it tries to get up there. Nothing, it's starting to pull back. So we know that we're not the only ones that, have that belief. That's the forward performance. If you look at every historical move of this magnitude, if you're interested in that, go back to Monday's video. You can actually check out the details. So that's the energy sector. Now, if we look over at financials, it's going to look a little weird here for a second, but if we go over to financials, this has been, along with energy, the strongest two sectors in the market. We could show that on the other screen for a second. But if you look at the biggest contributors here today, it's the big banks. Often I sort of dig through the financials and we'll talk about the exchanges, we'll talk about some of the light insurers, the credit processors, the large banks, the regional banks, what's in there anyways. And so today it was all the big financials. If you're looking inside of there, the biggest contributors, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo up at the top of the list. Charles Schwab would be your biggest broker in terms of gains on the day. But all in all, pretty much a broad rally today. If you look at the downside, although the numbers are a little bit wonky there, it was the exchanges that were on the downside. So they're just, they're almost like dissected from the financial sector right now. Where they go, everybody else goes this way. When they go this way, they go this way. So that's the elementary school explanation. But nonetheless, if you look at the sectors here today, you can pull it up year to date and actually take a look. You can see energy is in the lead, up about 30%, just over 30%. And financials come in second place, up 13.5%, as being the top two performing sectors, both of them trending higher, while everything else is trending lower, at least as of today. If we look at industrials, that'll be the last one I take a look at here with you today. The industrials, although they did give back some of their gains by the end of the day, here's what you got. You got basically the airlines, well, biggest gainers here. You've got the airlines, American Airlines and United were some of the bigger ones today. They are getting, I guess they're giving the Johnson & Johnson vaccine to some of their workers in Chicago, I believe it was. And then you had GE. That momentum in GE is continuing with the last couple days. So it's been a real strong one here lately. If I were to just zoom in a little bit, oh, there you go. You can see that momentum continuing today. It broke to new highs. GE is one of the favorites at the moment. Not a sector, but if we look at rates, they went higher again. Here is the 10-year. We're going to look at the 10-year. We're looking at the futures here just to get a direct look at it. Moving lower as the price of bonds moves lower, the yields move higher. That's the assumption on more stimulus and inflation. The economy come roaring back, hey, everybody's going back to work, and the government's still willing to spend trillions of dollars over the next couple years. And so there you go. You have people saying, well, then I'm assuming there's going to be some inflation. I might want to lock in rates while I can, and that's what you have there. So that's been the thing there. I talked about that in the Notes from Jazz email this weekend, the yield curve steepening and talking about that. There's something interesting developing there, so we may expand on that. But that's what we have going on there. And if we go over to the price of gold, reversed all of the gains there yesterday. Gold continuing to sell off, so that pullback getting steeper and more extended here in the short term. A couple others that I'll point out. I'm going to do a research post on this. I found this interesting. eBay, look at that pullback there. I had to do it. I sold some puts on eBay just to take a shot on maybe this thing stabilizing or holding this uptrend there. But that stands out. Also, Mama Jazz. Looking at Costco. She liked the idea of Costco. I stole her trade just for fun. Yeah, I don't know if you know, but we're working on putting together a series for customers here where we're calling it office trades. And so we're actually just going to show the trades that we're doing. Why do we like them? Things like that. While we're doing the long-term investing, we actually just want to show, like, what are we doing? What success or failures do we have? So we're putting that together and just starting to dabble with how we're going to actually put that together in a way that doesn't really interfere with the day and still is useful and valuable and all that good stuff. So I have spent all my money. I have used my portion of the account, and so I'm out of trades. But I've got that eBay, Costco, Walmart, Starbucks, and Merck. I thought I got out of Merck, by the way, and I did not. I did not get my order filled, so I got lucky on that one. And I'm going to hang in there, I think, now, since we got a little bit of a reversal there. I thought that was filled yesterday. So we'll see what happens there. Hey, let's go over the new highs, new lows for the day. And then I'll take your questions if you have any. Okay, you had 59 new highs on the day. I believe only Comcast was the one that finished negative. Everybody else finished up in the positive. Holly Frontier is going to put you in the energy sector there. 5.5%, that's new highs as well. Wynn, which we happen to own, did hit new highs, faded a little bit. All right, it's still up 2% and basically flat after hours, so not a big deal there. And by the way, Wynn, in Macau, if you're familiar with that, that was kind of a hot button area for a while. The casinos there are no longer requiring you to show a negative COVID test. You can just go in and gamble. So that's good news for Wynn, and obviously we're excited to see that as well. Moving on, you got Legg and Platt, not Legg Mason, Legg and Platt. So you've got breakout over highs here, nice 52-week move to highs, good volume here today, decent breakout, maybe a little momentum building there. Not a super popular stock. Valero, as you could imagine, there's a lot of names in the energy space that did well today, and a lot of them hit new 52-week highs. If you want to look at something like Diamondback Energy, one of my favorites, it hit new highs. We don't have to go through the symbols, but a lot of them looking strong there. And lastly, A.O. Smith, 52-week highs. I just thought it looked interesting. I just thought it was an uptrend that seems to be building momentum and becoming, not at the moment, but becoming more extended. In other words, it's going from a slower, tighter uptrend to maybe something a little steeper. So I just thought I'd put that on the list, maybe something you want to take a look at. Lastly, we've got stocks in the news, and then I'll get out of the way so you can watch the old SpaceX launch if you want to do that. Here we go. First one up on the list there, DraftKings. Type it right. So DraftKings hits new highs today, then sells off about 4%. They are going to work with Dish Networks to include their app inside of the Hoppa. Remember that commercial? Inside the hopper. So that's what you have there. JP Morgan in the news here today. They said we're going to have to reduce our footprint, office space in Manhattan. Right? You got to do what you got to do there. I don't really have a comment, but I understand it. Las Vegas Sands, 1.3%. We own this one, so rather interesting to see the news today. They are selling their Las Vegas properties to, well, if you want to look it up, it is the ticker symbol VICI. There you go. So these guys are buying, is it the Venetian? They're buying the Venetian and I think some land there as well. What I found interesting about this, so look, they want to buy this. They're going to spend $6.2 billion. And they're like, well, we don't have the money. So what are they doing? They're doing what everybody else does. They said, we're just going to sell 60 million shares. That'll cover it. Well, some of it. But they're selling shares to then go buy this property. They don't have the money to do it. So rather interesting there. And boy, there's a lot of companies doing this right now. Dollar Tree, up 3% on the day. They had earnings. The earnings beat, but store sales were only up about 5%. It was expected to be up about 5.5%. If you look inside of Dollar Tree, it's kind of a fun one maybe to look at in more detail, but Dollar Tree, the store itself, was the weak spot. So these guys are Dollar Tree and Family Dollar, if you have a Family Dollar by you. People going to Dollar Tree less. Store sales only up 2.4% there versus 4.5 or something was expected. Family Dollar store sales up 8% versus like 6.5% expected. So this is like when we look at limited brands and we say Victoria's Secret, Bath and Body Works, Bath and Body Works doing really well. Inside of here, Dollar Tree doing really bad. Family Dollar doing really well. So it's good news for them that they had that. Lastly, you got Box, which is somewhat Dropbox's competitor there. They beat on earnings by 11 cents, raised their guidance going forward. It is a hot, choppy mess for this stock right now. Not a very easy stock to trade, certainly not the time to trade it, but they're in the news here today. Also, the, what was his name? Jerry Gensler, the guy being nominated to be the SEC chairman. He had a bunch to say today, early this morning. He said that you should be able to sue your broker, like TD Ameritrade or Robinhood. Right now, I don't know if you guys know this, but you're not actually allowed to sue a brokerage firm. You can't sue Fidelity. You can't sue, E-Trade or whatever. It's not allowed. Also, he said that there should be more government oversight from the SEC's perspective on cryptocurrencies, which I think is good news for all the crypto people out there. And so that was that one. And finally, I'll bring the list to you again. Airbnb, Anthem, Fiverr, Stratasys, and The RealReal is just a small list of companies selling shares to you guys because everybody wants to buy them to raise money. So this is like, I don't know why nobody's talking about this. This is just like so many names doing this. Oh, one more thing. Oscar went public today. It wasn't a very good showing. Now, Oscar was a direct listing, so there's a difference here, just real quick. We've been seeing a lot of SPACs. So you see these companies going public because essentially they reverse merged with another company. It's easier and they come, poof, they're a public company just like that, change the name and it's all good. Well, this is actually a direct listing. So this one performed a little bit worse than expected. I think it opened at 36 or something. About 36. They priced it 35 or 37 or something. And so that's actually not bad, right? That's kind of normal. This is the odd way of going about it if you're following the trends at the moment, but down a little bit there for the day. I believe it pretty much closed right where they priced, not opened. So that's that. Other than that, you got a handful of dividends coming out. Pepsi, the big one, $1.02 paying out to you. And we got the Fed president talking tomorrow. So that'll likely get some of the headlines there. Let's see if I can answer some of your questions, and then we'll get out of here, huh? I love it. You want to look at Overstock? You think that's a bottom? Have you owned it for a while, or are you looking to buy that in this range here? So Overstock, this is kind of like some of the other stocks that are pulling back, which is I'm going to do a research post on this, the pullback stocks that are kind of interesting at the moment. Back to the 200-day, you can use it technically. It's been around long enough there. The problem is So let's say this is the bottom. I agree. Technical traders would use this area and believe that somewhere right in here within a dollar or two is the bottom. But when it bounces, you have people that had to sit through a pretty nasty drop, right? I mean, it's a pretty fast, rip the Band-Aid off type drop. Look at what happens when a stock like this falls rather aggressively. Does it bounce fast and have this massive big rally? No. It has these little weak rallies. So the same thing is happening here where there's an aggressive decline. You just don't want to play for a big move. I don't think it goes back to $100 and this bounce produces that move to $100. I think you have to wait for some time for it to get there. So the key here would be, yes, you look at that as support. Other people will come along and use that as support as well. But the bounce, you've got to be willing to take a smaller profit. So if you can sort of think of forward into the trade and say, I just don't think it's going to bounce to highs, that helps you take the profit faster and not be so, worried. Why didn't it bounce? It didn't go up. Have I mentioned our coffee cups? It's good for bourbon too. Walmart, you like that pull? I like it too. Yeah, obviously. I mean, I mentioned a minute ago with the drop there. I like that pullback. And I like that it's extended. Volume keeps staying high, though, so the pressure there is to the downside. Maybe 1 1/4, Find the next little support area there. I hear you. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Come on, man. Carnival Cruise Lines actually performed well today. They all did. Yeah, I think they all did. Was it Royal Caribbean was the only one? It was okay. Up 1% today. We own that one, so I was kind of like, what's going on? Norwegian Cruise Lines was the best performer, 6.25%, playing a little catch up there. But yeah, they all did well today. The reopening stocks, to a degree, did well today. Not all of them, but it wasn't sort of a big, broad move. Yeah, give us a Biden discount. That's right. Coffee cups, but no hoodies. Well, we didn't order these. I've actually had these for. There was a hurricane that came through years ago, and I had these coffee cups to use at a golf tournament when I had time to do things like that. And a hurricane came, they canceled the golf tournament. They've been sitting in the back of the warehouse. We have some other ideas, don't you worry. And so we want to get rid of the coffee cups. So we're thinking, if we can sell the coffee cups, then we can buy the other stuff that may be more interesting and more fun to do. So I don't know if you need a coffee cup, but how much are the coffee cups? Crickets. How much does a coffee cup go for? $9? For just this? I mean, this is much better than a $9 coffee cup. Did I mention it keeps your coffee warmer for 1% longer? $29. Hey, now we're talking. I don't think it was made in China. It says sticker on the bottom. Ooh, there's an exchange rate. We got to account for that, I love it. You bought $50 calls last week. Oh, on NEO. So directional play. You bought the $50 calls. No, I don't like that. Why are you doing that? Don't do that. I don't mean to pick on you, but I do. You don't buy out of the money calls. And I don't know what expiration you said, Sean. Oh, April 1st. Absolutely not. So personally, I don't like that. I never will suggest you buy an out-of-the-money call. It's a lottery ticket. Your probability of getting to $50 is worse than if you just bought the shares right here, spent the extra money or margin or whatever. I don't know how you're trading, but it's worse than if you just bought shares, which is not great, right? If you buy shares, you essentially have just slightly better than a 50-50 shot, but you bought the $50 calls and you have a 20% probability, 19.48% probability of getting NEO to go back to $50 before your expiration. So you gave yourself a 20% chance of making money, breaking even, I should say, by expiration. Not even breaking even. You could still lose, I guess, because you paid up for it. So I don't like that. Always consider buying at the money calls when you think a stock is moving higher. Now, that being said, maybe you did this the other day when it was $50, so I'm picking on you for no reason. But for anybody else, if you believe NEO is going higher, you would buy the call closest to, or if you wanted to be long options, you would buy the call closest to the current price. It's called an at-the-money call if you didn't want to buy shares or whatever it is. So that's that. There it is. Sell your NEO and buy Tesla shares at these low prices. We can count on that every day, man. That's good stuff. With XLE nearing a pullback, do the other stocks there at highs, Minos, also help the pullback of those key? Yeah, they certainly do. Especially, well, it's the other way around. Those stocks pulling back move XLE lower. It's not the reverse, like you mentioned. And that's just because XLE is an ETF made up of those stocks. So if the foundation of what is inside of it pulls back, so be it. And XLE is coming down as well. Yeah. You could actually, we'll just maybe do this real quick. You could actually take a look and see, there you go, the biggest weights in the XLE. So the weighting, Chevron and ExxonMobil make up 45% of the XLE. So if those two stocks have a down day, that would probably be enough to drag XLE lower, even if the rest of the stocks had a flat to very slightly positive day. So you can see that if we sort by weight, your biggest positions by far are ExxonMobil and Chevron. So the rest of these having a bad day is fine. They could do whatever. But if these two have really strong days, which are also highlighted here as the biggest weighted, then it really might not move the ETF as a whole. And that's just because for whatever reason, these guys have chosen to more heavily weight towards those two stocks. Yeah. Okay, so you bought the $50 calls when the stock was around 48. So I would use the same comment there. In the future, you might, especially since sounds like you were using the weekly options there, you might consider just going to your weekly, whatever time period you want, and saying, I'll go right to 48. I'll do the at-the-money call. Yep. I love it. Hey, I'm going to wrap it up there because I do want to see if this thing launches. We have some 30 minutes? Well, we have time. Okay. What? It's not happening, man.
Well, it's officially happening. They're all getting excited. It's 30.
Oh, it's 30 minutes. Okay. In 30 minutes, we get to see our bet. It's a pretty, I don't know if you heard the bet, but me and Cody are doing tile at the house that I bought, and the boxes of tile, we got to move them from the garage to tonight we're doing the bedroom. And so the bet was if this thing takes off and lands successfully, he has to move 2 boxes of tile into the room. I don't have to pick them up. But if it crashes, and by definition, or if it's not successful, by definition being it explodes, I got to move them. So I want to be watching. I want to know what happens. All right, well, I'm going to wrap it up there because we've done some good stuff, and we'll be back tomorrow, do this all over again. Our Wine and Wealth class tomorrow, probably going to cover a few updates in Nest Egg as well as positioning your investments for your plan. So we'll go through a couple of them there, maybe take questions and such, and until then, I'll wish you a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.